Welcome back. This is a very quick video on fatty acids. So fatty acids are an introduction to our larger biomolecules called lipids. And fatty acids are some of the building blocks in lipids. So they're going to be composed of long hydrocarbon chains. And the hydrocarbon chains, remember, we consider these to be nonpolar. But when we add heteroatoms to them, like nitrogen, halogens, or oxygens, those functional groups tend to be polar. Okay, so we've got this first fatty acid down here. Just remember that the hydrocarbon tails, that's the longest piece. That's going to be your nonpolar section. And then we have this small part, our carboxylic acid, which is polar. Okay. And we're going to categorize fatty acids into one of three types. We've got saturated, monosaturated, and polyunsaturated. So saturated fatty acids and unsaturated, we've talked about before in the past in this section. Remember that saturated means that you have the maximum number of hydrogen atoms possible. And we talked about how when we're trying to have the maximum number of hydrogen atoms, we're going to have all carbon-carbon single bonds. Now, this doesn't count the double bond to the oxygen, of course, but when we're looking at that hydrocarbon chain that comes off of it, they need to be all carbon-carbon single bonds, or what we call alkane groups. Monounsaturated is going to be if we have only one carbon-carbon double bond. Okay, so we've got two examples here. Technically, this is what we call a cis isomer. And then we have an example here with what we call a trans isomer. And we'll learn about that in the isomer section. Okay, but anytime that you have just one carbon-carbon double bond in the hydrocarbon chain, that's going to be monounsaturated. And then the last type we have is polyunsaturated. So that's, of course, more than one carbon-carbon double bond. And again, those can be in a cis orientation, which is what we have here. Those are your cis isomers, or you could have an example like this. They are still technically looking like cis, but they just have it strung out differently. Okay, but if you count more than one carbon-carbon double bond, those are polyunsaturated.